Hi, I'm Laura from 5 out of 4 Patterns and welcome to Sewing School. Today we're going to talk about determining the stretch percentage of your fabrics. Let's get started. So here we are talking all about determining the stretch, the amount of stretch or percentage of stretch that our fabric has. All kinds of fabric have different kinds of percentages of stretch. Woven fabrics like quilting cottons, things like that, have no stretch at all. So what you'll find, we're just going to jump right in, and we'll talk a little bit about fabrics and we'll talk a little bit about stretch. But first I want to talk to you about what you will find in a 5 out of 4 pattern. Now, when you look through the tutorial, you will see a page similar to this. This one's hard to read because I printed it in black and white and it didn't print very well, but I've highlighted some things for us. This chart right here is what is going to help us determine the percentage of stretch that our fabric has. Now, you will find this chart in every single one of our pattern tutorials that require stretch. Now, sometimes it's at the bottom of the page, sometimes it's at the top. You'll see it in different spots. It's exactly where it needs to be. Now, what you will see clearly here is I've highlighted 25%, 50%, and 75%. The thing you're going to do here is you're going to measure 4 inches, that's what this says here, 4 inches of your fabric. And you're going to hang on to your 4 inches of the fabric. And you're going to stretch. If it only stretches 1 inch, then has 25%. So it stretches from here to here. It has 25% stretch. If it stretches from here to here, 2 inches, it has 50% stretch, like in the blue. If it stretches from here all the way to here, it has 75% stretch. Now, each of these increments are 1 inch. So you've got to get the right amount. So you're going to measure 4 inches. You're not going to cut it. You don't need to cut the fabric. You just need to hold it at the 4-inch point and stretch. Now, if it goes further than that, if it goes 4 inches, you know that that's 100% stretch because you have 4 inches and it's going another 4 inches. And that makes it a 100% stretch. So if we look at this particular pattern tutorial, which I'm not even sure which pattern it is for 5 out of 4, but it does say at the top, this pattern requires knit fabric with at least 50% stretch. So we can have 75% stretch, but you don't want it to have 25% stretch. And many times it will say you need to have 4-way stretch. So 4-way stretch means it stretches both of these directions and both of these directions. 2-way stretch is that it just stretches in one direction. Just this way, or just this way. Okay, but mostly it's just this way. Okay, does that make sense? So horizontally is what I'm talking about. When I do this, that's horizontally. This is vertically. Now, so that's what you're looking for. Follow the instructions of the pattern that you're using. Just about all of patterns will have some sort of chart. This is the chart that we use here at 5 out of 4 patterns. So let's talk about fabric and how do we know what is horizontal stretch and what is vertical stretch? Well, let's look at that. I've got 2 different fabrics here for us. We've got a very cheap, very cheap velvet and a French terry. Okay, they both have 4-way stretch. Okay, you can see if I do this and I do this, just one has more than the other. Okay, not a lot in the French terry. So let's look at the French terry first. Now, pull this out here so you can see. All right, you can see here, let me go this way with it, that we've got this little edge here. And if you look at it, it's not a cut edge, is it? It's what was on the bolt. This is called the selvage. Many of you may already know this, but I'm just for people who might be new, I want to explain this. This is the selvage. Now, from selvage to selvage, so from here to here, the whole width of the fabric, that is the horizontal stretch. Okay, so selvage to selvage, horizontal stretch. Along the selvage, up and down the selvage, is the vertical stretch. Okay, this way. So if we are using our chart, let's just look at the French terry, and we're using our chart in the tutorial. And we want to find out, we know we need 4-way stretch. We just want to make sure we have the right amount of 4-way stretch. So let's look at the horizontal, which we know is selvage to selvage. So we're going to grab 4 inches. okay? And this has it on here for you. You can use your cutting mat or your tape measure or whatever, but you don't have to. We've made it very, very simple. So here we are at 4 inches. So I'm going to keep my finger here on this line, and I'm going to stretch. Okay, so it easily stretches 25, and oh, I can get it to 50. I can't get it, I don't know if you can see, I can't get it all the way to 75. So it gets a little bit further than 50, but not by much. So we have at least 50% stretch there. That's from selvage to selvage. That's horizontal. Now let's do the vertical. The vertical is up and down. So I'm going to take the vertical and I'm going to turn it because I need to measure it at 4 inches. So here we are. I'm going to hold it tight at this line and I'm going to stretch. Okay, I'm stretching it as much as I can, and I can't get it quite to the 50% line. It's over 25, but not quite to 50%. So horizontal, from selvage to selvage, is more than 50%. Vertical, along the selvage, up and down the selvage, is not quite, I'm going to say it's 25% at best. I'm going to say it's 25%. So that's for this particular French terry. Now let's look at something else. I've got this very cheap, very, very cheap velvet. Now you could see this is the selvage. This is not the cut. You can even see the line. I mean, I've got cuts everywhere here, okay? So horizontal is from selvage to selvage, okay? Selvage all the way to the other side, selvage to selvage. So I'm going to grab the selvage and I'm going to grab here. And I'm going to measure 4 inches, okay? So I've got cuts everywhere. So I'm going to grab right here here, okay. So here we are, and I stretch. So 25 is pretty easy. Can I get to 50? Yep. Can I get to 75? Yeah, but it's difficult. But I can get to 75. So I would say the horizontal stretch, the maximum stretch for this particular stretch velvet horizontally is 75%. So now let's look at the vertical stretch, this vertical stretch, which is along the selvage, up and down the selvage, okay? So it has less stretch. Okay, so we're at 4. I'm not even halfway to 50% maybe, and that's really pulling. Like I'm working really hard. So we would say we have 75% stretch, if I remember that I said that correctly, 75%. Yeah, 75 max, and over 25, not quite 50% vertical. So 75 horizontal, 25 vertical. You can do this with every type of knit fabric you have. As a general rule, the horizontal stretch is going to be more than the vertical stretch. So we've determined stretch, we've determined horizontal, we've determined selvage, we've determined vertical stretch, we've determined all those things. So I hope this helped you, if you're new to this, determine exactly what you need for the patterns that you are making. I hope to see you next time. Bye.